Hello and welcome to Speaking Spirit, where we talk about all things spiritual. Your host, John Moore, is a shamanic practitioner and spiritual teacher. And now, here's John.
Hey everybody, I always have the urge to say good morning when I do these because I always record them in the morning, but I have no idea what time it is when you're listening to this, so I will say good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is where you are. I'm really excited today. I have a special guest. My guest is Liza Dimitri, and she has she's not given me a bio to read to you, so I have to wing my introduction of her. So bear with me, and she's going to correct me if I go way off the rails here.
Okay, you got it.
But Liza is a friend I've known since high school, so that goes back I'm really old.
I was going to say, we don't have to say that.
We don't have to say the date, but
right.
So we go back a long time. And Liza is many things. She's a mom. She's a teacher. She has and probably will continue to host a radio show. She is a small business owner. She's got all kinds of things going on. I know you're also on the library, the board for the library in the town that I grew up in. And gosh, what am I missing? Anything? You've got a dog?
I do have a dog. I have 3 kids. I'm actually on vice president of the Lewis and Auburn Children's Foundation. I love that board. We only meet once a year. It's fabulous.
Oh, once a year. Yeah. I was going to say, where do you find the time for all of this?
I know.
I guess.
Yeah. That's how I got on that board. I asked them how often that they were going to meet, and they said once a year. I said, sign me up.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a good board to be on.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have Liza on today, mainly because she's a friend and she's very cool, and we have good conversations online. But also today, the topic is gratitude. We want to talk about gratitude today, and Liza and I had a really good conversation, I think, about gratitude recently. I am grateful. Yes. I'm grateful for you being here. I'm grateful for the conversation about gratitude.
Me too.
Here I am expressing gratitude. And I want to talk about, we're going to talk about a bunch of things today, but I want to talk about positivity, and not to take things in a podcast about gratitude and positivity. I want to take things down a darker road at some point.
But that's kind of your style, John. We'll bring it back around.
We'll haul it back around. You can rein me in by the end of the podcast, so we're back in a good space. But I want to talk about this concept of like toxic positivity, right? And what that means, and along with sort of spiritual bypassing, what I call it's not my term, but a term, spiritual bypassing, what that means, and how we can sort of live in gratitude in this world, but also be sort of careful about the flip side, the darker side of burying things under positivity and that sort of thing. So Does that sound good? That sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me.
Awesome. So what are you grateful for today?
Well, it's funny that you said that. This whole pandemic, I've been sleeping in a little bit later than usual because the boys are remote, and so we don't have this hectic, crazy schedule, which is one of the silver linings of it. But anyway, I was lying in bed trying to wake up early for you, and I was like, well, I'm grateful for my friend John and this opportunity to be on the radio again because I really miss that.
Yeah.
And also, so today's International Women's Day.
Yes,
I don't know when you're going to, publish this or whatever. But anyway, I ironically enough, or that's not correct use of that word. But anyway, I'm actually get to see my best friend today and my mom. We just kind of like worked out that way. So I'm grateful. It's going to be a fabulous Monday. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I mean, those are all good things to be grateful for. And so this will go out today. I usually push these out the same day. So
cool.
Happy International Women's Day. I should recognize that women obviously play an extremely important role in my life. I, have a mom like most of us, and grandmother and aunts and uncles, but I also have daughters. I'm a dad of daughters, which presents its own thing, but I'm one of the things I am really, really, really grateful for is the strides that have been made with, women's equality. I know we're not perfect. I know we've got places to go. I know we've got that, but the opportunities that have been opened up for my daughters, and on the backs of the women that have come before, I really appreciate that. I want a world for my daughters where they can be and do anything they want, and without any sort of restriction based on who they were born as or who they decide to be or any of those things. And so I always say that as a man, I consider myself a feminist because I think the patriarchy is bad for everybody. I don't think it's particularly good for dudes either, right? I don't think it's good for us men either. We think it is because we're, it's this giant pyramid scheme where we've put ourselves on top of the pyramid for couple of thousand years. But I think there are some very serious repercussions to that. And again, I'm going down this dark tangent. We're supposed to talk about.
Let's pin it, and that'll be episode 2.
Right. But happy International Women's Day. Even if you're not listening to this on International Women's Day, take a moment and appreciate the contribution. The contributions of the women in your life and the women around you, and just take a moment to reflect.
Maybe next year we can celebrate it on more than one day.
Yeah. There should be.
How about that?
A month or something, right?
I mean, yeah. I'll take a month with only 30 days. That's fine.
Right.
We don't have 31. But more than a day, please.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's a place to start.
So we were talking about gratitude the other day, and it's really interesting that you mentioned the pandemic because as sort of life altering as that has been for the entire planet, there are things that I have come to be grateful for and appreciate. And one of those is I don't have to take my daughters to school at 7 a.m. They start school, they're remote as well, and they start school later. They get to sleep in. They appreciate that. I was talking to them the other day and saying, won't it be great? You get to go back to school in person next year. And they're like, I don't know if I want to now. I'm like, this is great. I'm like, in the beginning it was this is horrible. I don't get to see my friends. I don't get to hang out at lunchtime. I don't get to do this. And now they're like, I get to sleep in. So it is interesting to find those silver linings. And I get to have lunch with my daughters, and I wouldn't normally do that if they were at school, obviously. And it's like a nice little part of my day. I get to, sometimes I help them with homework right before a class or, that sort of thing. So there are a few things to be grateful
No, I agree. For. Same thing's happening over here, except that it's boys and not girls.
Right. Interestingly, we were talking about, I want to talk a little bit about the why of gratitude and, why, gratitude has become this sort of important catchword in sort of spiritual and personal development communities. There are lots of books about gratitude. We have, platitudes. This is going to be a rhyme. The platitude of show the attitude of gratitude, right? Which is a platitude.
Sounds like a shirt.
It does sound like a T-shirt. I think I've seen that on a bumper sticker and a T-shirt
something.
Before. So, what's the big deal with gratitude? Why? Like, what's important about it? Like, why would it make any difference whatsoever? I've got a take on it. Obviously, I wouldn't bring it up if I didn't have a take on it. But
I want to know. Nothing to say.
I have nothing to say about this. But let's talk about it. What's your take? What's your take on why not just feeling gratitude, but expressions of gratitude are important?
Well, I feel kind of, it's funny that you say that because I was thinking about that when we decided to do this podcast. And this may be a selfish reason for it, but I honestly, it makes me feel good. Like,
right.
Either doing little things for people or like, for example, at the grocery store, everybody, especially the past year, people complain at the drop of a hat,
Mm-hmm.
and really around here anyway, I think we're okay. Like I'm so grateful that we live in Maine for all of this as well. Not to now I'm spinning out of control. But anyway, when I'm at the checkout, I they say, is there anything we can help you with, or do you have questions or whatever, how they always ask you. And I try to compliment them on something or, say it was fine or whatever, because everybody's always complaining. And if I can make that clerk's, 90 seconds with me slightly better than the person before or after, then, I'm happy for that. And doing, like I said, doing things like that make me feel good. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's this interesting thing that happens sometimes with people who work in service, right? Where it's easy to not treat them like human beings sometimes, as people with feelings or,
mm-hmm.
that sort of thing, because they're, we view them in sort of, not consciously, we're not necessarily going into that lowly, clerk, or, we're not doing that, but just unconsciously, it's a utilitarian, it's transactional. Mm-hmm. I'm having a transaction with this person. And
right.
So we're just sort of like business only, none of this stuff. So I do find I make a point, I try to, at least have a moment, and this is a practice, I think, I could be completely wrong about this, but I think Eckhart Tolle talks about this, where you give somebody your attention and presence, even just for a few seconds in that moment, mm-hmm. whether it's a clerk or a waiter or waitress or something like that, and just, mm-hmm. Stop what you're thinking about and just give them a moment of your presence. And that's really sometimes lacking, mm-hmm. And that recognition, but also that personal contact that you have. It does, having, when I was younger, I worked in all kinds of service jobs, before and through college, and having a personal connection with somebody is, it does make your day. It does, mm-hmm. it does make, it does give you a little lift that somebody is treating you like a human being with feelings, mm-hmm. and that sort
right.
of thing.
Even smiling at a stranger, which is hard to do with a mask now until I really try to smile with my eyes.
Yes. Yeah. But it comes through. And I have a little, this is a little like spiritual practice that I do. And I try to, I'm not always great at it. I try to stay consistent with it, but I try to bless everybody I come into contact with. And it's mm-hmm. just a matter of taking a moment, and everybody I have, that comes into my consciousness, whether I see them down the road or I'm passing them in traffic. Sometimes it's easier than other times, particularly in traffic, right? Particularly if somebody is trying to not be such a great person with you. Mm-hmm. That can be a challenge, and I recognize that, and mm-hmm. that's totally fine. But I do try to give people a little blessing in my mind. And there's, I came up in I spent a lot of time practicing Buddhism back when I was in college and afterwards. And we sort of had there was this saying from the tradition that I practiced that, treat everyone as if they were if you imagine the whole reincarnation thing for millions of years, mm-hmm. The concept is that everybody at one point was your mother, so treat them like they're your mother. Or another viewpoint is, if you consider us all, all children from the same source, which we are, genetically, we all come from the same place. These are all your cousins, your brothers and sisters, and
right.
treat people the way, the golden rule exists in almost every culture.
I absolutely agree with you about that.
going back to gratitude, there was an interesting study, and because this is a podcast and not a paper, I'm not going to like go quote the actual study. So forgive me, you'd have to Google this if you're interested in it. But I do remember reading about this study that they did years ago, where I think it was in Wisconsin. There was a nunnery, and they went through, and the nunnery had been around for a couple hundred years or something. And all of the nuns kept diaries, and they kept the diaries even after the nuns died. So they went back through, some team of researchers, and they analyzed the diaries of the nuns that had lived there for 150 years or so. And the nuns that had higher percentages of expressions of gratitude in their diaries lived on average 9 years longer. Right? So
that's a long time.
That is a long time. Imagine being able to add 9 years to your life without diet or exercise.
I know.
I mean, that's huge. That's huge. Yes. And it tells you something because, these are people living in the same environment. So the environmental factors are all the same. They're eating the same food, drinking the same water. Right. Their days are pretty much the same. They probably have genetic similarities. I don't know. I don't know for sure but I would imagine the demographics of nuns living in Wisconsin are fairly similar.
Probably, yeah. That might be the only thing that might be slightly different, but still very,
right?
Very similar. Yeah.
And the fact that these, greater expressions of gratitude, and we were talking about, you recommended a book, which I haven't had time to acquire or read yet, but
well, that's okay. That we talked like
a couple days ago.
That's okay.
But I think the book was called Growing Younger.
Younger. Yes. Yeah.
And it specifically talks about gratitude as well as a practice as a way of, making yourself healthier.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's something along those exact same lines. And unfortunately, I haven't read the whole thing yet, so I hope we're not having a pop quiz here. But
oh no, I'm
just kidding.
Couldn't give you a pop quiz.
But you're right. The author's Polish, which I thought was cool, and found out afterwards because I'm quite a bit Polish. But also the thing I thought was neat was it just goes along the lines of things that I already do. It's like, yes, we eat a healthy diet and all that kind of stuff, but here and there we have little treats, but mostly it's like being grateful for the things that you have, having close relationships with, people around you and doing things for these people, and just having a general, positive outlook on things helps you to be healthier more than that morning kale juice or,
right,
running a marathon or whatever. And they showed, again, you'll probably have to Google this, but at the beginning of the book, she talks about a study that they did, people that did one thing a day for somebody else, and over a certain period of time. And then it actually changed their genetic makeup within that short amount of time, which I was like, holy smokes, that's crazy. I totally believe it because, like I said before, when I do things for other people, it makes me feel better. So I'm sure it has an effect on my health. And I think that's so cool. Yeah.
There's, the world of genetics we think of as, our DNA and RNA, which are, just an amazing thing in itself. But there's this whole other, world out there of what we call epigenetics, which are things that we do that they don't necessarily alter our DNA, but they change the way, they turn on parts of our genes, certain genes. And that, that includes things that we can pass down from generation to generation. So we know that trauma, for example, massive trauma gets passed down. We can detect changes in the grandchildren of Holocaust survivors, for example. We've been able to do it with certain types of worms. We've been able to detect epigenetic changes like 23 generations later. I mean,
that's crazy.
It's a pretty big deal, right? You can turn parts of your DNA kind of on, make them active. And we know from research now that some of those are health promoting. You know, the practice of gratitude can be health promoting, and the act of doing something for somebody else, right? The act of doing things for other people.
And not expecting something in return.
Yeah, that's the big one.
I feel like that's part of it too. Like anytime, well, it's like Christmas or holidays or birthdays and stuff. I'm always more excited about giving people gifts than getting them. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's fun to get presents, but I truly love the whole thing of like, well, I just sent my brother something the other day out of the blue, and I'm sure he's like, Liza, why are you sending me presents?
Yeah.
But I just thought that he would enjoy it. It's something that I have, and I was like, I think that he would like this too. And it just, I even got it in Syracuse orange because that's where he graduated from. But anyway, which also makes my skin crawl a little bit, but we don't need to get into that.
You gotta have
Hoosiers, baby.
Yeah, you gotta have those rivalries. I went to a school that our colors were purple and gold. Oh, wow. And in Boston, but we didn't have a big sort of sports presence, so it's not like not wrapping myself in any jerseys or anything like that. I like purple. I have purple sneakers, but Oh,
I love purple.
Yeah, it's a good royal color.
Mm-hmm.
I think you touched on something important, and that is sort of doing something for other people and not expecting anything in return. It's nice to get the gratitude back, but you don't have to. Like, you can just feel good in the giving of itself, and it doesn't have to be a big deal. It can be that positive connection. It doesn't have to cost a penny, right?
That's true too.
Kindness is free.
That's right.
Right? A kind word, a kind glance.
Send. I have been writing my aunt who's approaching 90 in Pennsylvania, and just sending her, notes here and there, or, emailing my uncle, and just, and my mom taught us when we were growing up, and now I've pushed it onto my kids, those lucky ducks, thank you notes, which I think have completely fallen by the wayside. But, I try to tell my kids, I'm like, this takes you less than 5 minutes, guys, and it means so much to hear from you guys, and they love to hear from you. They also appreciate that you're being grateful about whatever gift they gave you. And, it really doesn't take that much time. So,
it's a big deal. And, which reminded me of something like a little bit of, another positive of the pandemic is my daughters started writing letters back and forth with their friends, like even friends that live in the same city, because they're not able to see them. So they send each other letters all the time. And I don't, personally, I don't remember the last time, other than, cards and thank you notes and stuff. I don't remember the last time I actually sat down and hand wrote somebody a letter.
Right.
Because, we send email and we send this and we send that, but they, they make little packages and they do. And, my daughters have discovered the joy of gift giving as well. From that, they exchange gifts with their friends, and, they love Christmas. They get excited about giving gifts. And my birthday was a couple weeks ago, and they kept asking me, what do you want? What do you want for your birthday? What do you want for your birthday? I'm like, I don't want you to spend any money. I want you to make me something, and that will be the thing, whatever. They went all out. They made, first of all, they crocheted me a blanket, which was blew my mind.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
But then they made me this scrapbook. They took all these about 50 or so pictures of us, of me with them together, and made this whole scrapbook. And the scrapbook had a playlist of songs we listened to together in the car. And,
wow. I'm going to cry.
Yeah. Just the most.
That must have been wonderful.
It was the most amazing gift I think I've ever received from anyone, because it was so heartfelt. They had clearly put a lot of time and effort and thought and they were so excited. I picked them up from their mom's house, and they were like, you have to open your gift in the car because we can't wait. Like,
so see, that's the other thing too. I'm always like, open it now, open it.
Right. So,
oh, that's wonderful, John.
So yeah, I mean, I couldn't be more grateful for that, and for and for the thought and the effort that they put in, but also that they've learned, that sort of, gift giving is not necessarily about who's going to go and buy the coolest thing or, whatever, that it's about this exchange of love, really, right? It's about this,
right.
I love you and I'm going to give you something that shows that. And
that's how I feel about cooking.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way with cooking. I just, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to sidetrack you.
No. Now I started thinking about the dinner I made the other night, which
I know I made lasagna last night. So I woke up yesterday morning and I was thinking, like, what am I going to make for dinner? And the boys have been wanting me to make lasagna, which, I mean, it's not difficult per se.
It's time consuming.
It's just a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's like when they ask me to make pulled pork. I'm like, is that difficult? No, but geez Louise, guys. Could you let's pour some cereal today? I don't know. But, no, but as long as I have the time to do it, I don't mind. Like, that's kind of my other thing that I think I've realized with the pandemic is if I have time to do it, I don't get stressed out. Like, I just don't want to have to rush to do things. Just,
right.
As long as I'll have a little music in the background and give me some time and I'll make whatever you want.
You got to have the music. I find cooking and music go hand in hand. Definitely. Or listen to this podcast while you cook.
That's true.
As a plug for, we'll give recipes away next.
Exactly.
I'll get you a recipe for lasagna.
Sure. Well, that brings up a funny story too, because, I don't use recipes. I just make stuff.
Okay.
And so then my husband will say, how did you? And I'm like, I just threw it together. But I probably could write something down for you.
The girl's mom is Filipina, and when we were married, she would. She'd want to make something. Her mom passed away years ago, but before her mom had passed away, she would call her mom up and she's like, how do I make pancit? Or how do I make this? Or how do I make that? And her mom would be like, oh, just, throw this in the pot. She's like, how much? Well, I don't know. It was like very similar situation. I was like, for cooking is kind of an art. Baking is a science, but cooking is a little bit of an art
which is why I don't bake, because it irritates me. It has to be too perfect, and I can't play around with it.
I'm kind of the same way. I have a lot of respect for people who can bake, and I have friends who do these amazing breads and all kinds of stuff, and I'm like, just drop some off on my porch. And
I know. Well, that's why I joke about, because my husband brews beer too, so I tell him, and he makes all the baking things. I tell him I don't have patience for yeast, so I just avoid.
I did just make some. I brewed. I guess this would technically be considered wine. I just made some pineapple wine with yeast.
I can't wait to hear about this.
Yeah. But it's drop
Very
dead.
Excited.
Drop dead. It was drop dead simple. Even though the yeast reacted far faster than I expected, and actually pushed the airlock out of the
I was going to say, did you have some explosions?
A little bit of an explosion going on. There's a lot of sugar in there.
Yeah.
And the yeast was like, "Oh, that's really delicious," and I'm gonna make your stuff explode. And that's why,
say, lots of gobbling and carbon dioxide.
Yeah, that's why we put an airlock on there. But I will. It's in the fridge clarifying right now, but
okay.
I did have to sample some. I don't know, because I don't have a gauge to check, but I think it's about 15% alcohol. So it's like
I can help you with that.
Hits really heavy. It's like it's like a little glass. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that works. That works.
Yep.
But I don't bake too much. Now and then I'll make something simple like brownies or whatever for my kids. Mm-hmm. Gosh, we could probably have a whole thing on food, right?
I know. I was just going to say, pin it, episode 3.
I think it's dangerous because you and I are both foodies.
I know. Yeah, we could probably do a whole series on that.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm gonna take a dark turn. That's my dark turn.
I'll buckle up.
That's my dark turn voice.
You get closer to the mic, and
I get closer to the mic and speak slowly in a slightly deeper voice. I'm a little bit. I have some allergies. So I'm a little denasal right now, so I can't go too far down in my lower register. But
okay. Imagine, if you will.
Speaking of which, I mean, this is fun. This is an aside. It's kind of funny, but interesting. A friend of mine is, I have lots of friends who are musicians. I came up in music and came from a musical family, and I have friends who are performers out there. And a friend recently posted something on Facebook, and he's like, I'm trying to put together a recording of the Hallelujah chorus, right? Handel's Hallelujah chorus. And I need people who can record at home, who can sing, and who can record at home. I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And he's like, thank goodness we need men. So guys, I don't know what it is, but you got to step up in the singing department. Like, you got to sing. So even if you don't think you're good at it or whatever, you got to sing, because
I sing all the time. It drives my kids nuts. Actually, we have this running joke that they will say something and it reminds me of a lyric from a song, so I start singing it, and they're like, "Mom, stop!" And then I was like, "I challenge you, just say something, and I'll come up with it." And they're like,
"Yeah." And
so I can't remember what they did, but I did like 3 or 4 examples right in a row, and David was like, "All right, I quit." I said, "I told you."
See, I sing and I dance, and I'm not.
I love to dance too.
I'm not a dancer, but I'll dance anywhere. And so even if like I'm in the grocery store and like some really old song comes on over the PA.
I know, because that's what they play in the grocery stores now, John. It's music from when we were kids.
Quote unquote oldies, right? So it's like I listened to this in high school. It's oldies now?
I know, which is like, I'm like, yay, it's on, and then I'm like, oh, that means I'm old, but I don't care.
It's a lot.
Age is just a number, whatever.
There's a lot of Billy Ocean going on at the local grocery store.
Yeah.
I remember I was with the girls. I'm like singing along to "Get Out of My Dreams, Get Into My Car" by Billy Ocean, and they were like, "What the heck is this song?" Get out of my dreams. Get
Do you
into
remember the
my
video
car.
too? I mean,
oh yeah,
I miss music videos. Yeah,
right, yeah, music videos back when that was a thing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the Michael Jackson one was like primetime TV, black and white. I mean, or whatever the name of that song was. Yeah,
yeah, black and white. That was a great one. I remember watching the morphing technology. Yeah, and being completely blown away by it. I was studying mass communication at the time, and the technology. Mm-hmm. I was still editing video on tape, had multiple decks, and we were like one step above where people would actually like cut videotape with a razor blade and splice it together. We were just beyond that stage, and this video came out, and I was like, "How the heck did they do that?"
I know, that was really cool.
Nowadays, you wouldn't even need any actors to do that with all the deep fakes and all of that sort of stuff.
True. Yep.
But very cool. But we digress, which seems to be really easy with us, and that's fine. That's totally cool. I'm sure people are really interested in our grocery store dances.
Well, I'm waiting for your dark turn.
Yeah, so
I'll bring you back.
This is the dark turn, and I just want to touch on it briefly because there's this whole idea of either toxic positivity, which feeds into what I call kind of spiritual bypassing. And there's this idea. So I before the pandemic, I used to host this meetup called Spiritually Conscious Professionals Meetup, and it was sort of anybody could come. It was pretty open, but we'd pick a topic and we'd talk about things. And I remember there was a time where these two young women came, and they were in like active recovery from I think opiate addiction. Like they were in a program together, going through some stuff, and they had sort of embraced some spiritual practice, meditation, or what have you, to sort of help them get through that stuff. And they came to this meeting to sort of connect with people and that sort of thing. And I just remember this one woman talking to me. She's like, well, I've been meditating all this time and this, this guy cut me off in traffic and I found myself getting enraged. And then I'm like, well, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't feel anger. I'm this, spiritual being who floats on clouds of, I always like to say float on clouds of unicorn farts. Right. And I'm like, okay,
no, I'm on clouds of cotton candy, but that's okay.
And I'm like, so did you get angry that you were angry? And she's like, well, yeah.
I know, right?
And I'm like, okay. And then did you get angry that you got angry that you got angry? And on down the line. And so there's this idea that you, and should and shouldn't, I think are not great words.
Right.
That you shouldn't experience certain things, that you should be positive all the time. And, there's this other thing that happens where, like somebody is grieving, for example. Let's say somebody loses a loved one passes away, and people are like, oh, well, they're in a better place now. I
hate that. Sorry.
Right. No, it's fine. It's good. It's well-intentioned, right?
Of course.
People are wanting to make you feel better.
Yeah.
But what they're asking you to do is to stuff your grief.
Mm-hmm.
They're asking you to repress what you're feeling, and that never works out okay. That is not a good thing. You're supposed to feel these things. Mm-hmm. If you have anger about something coming up and you're like, I shouldn't be feeling this, it's an indicator. It's an indicator that there's a wound there or a boundary violation or something. And it's not to say, you shouldn't be introspective about that. Like, wow, I keep getting angry about this stupid thing and I don't get it. No, there's gold there. There's gold to be dug there. Like, you get introspective about it and say why, after the fact, feel what you're feeling, let it go past. But so there's, there particularly in, you may or may not have been around like sort of the spiritual community in the way that I have. Like, there's a lot of the unicorn fart cloud folks out there, right? Where
I don't know what that's about.
I am ascended. I'm working on I'm an ascended master, and I don't have base human desires or emotions. And 100% of the time that's crap. Like, I have never met somebody.
For a split second there, John, I thought you were saying that was you. And I was like,
what? Oh, that's totally me. I never complain about anything or have negative. I am ascended. No,
I was waiting for the butt part. I was like, what?
But
what?
I am ascended to the 49th plane of existence. No,
I'm still learning about what exactly that you do and stuff. So I was like, wow, is he serious right now?
Nobody knows what I do. It's a secret. One of the things, so my personal path, the personal path that I have sort of chosen, or that has chosen me in this life, is that I practice shamanism as my main form of what I call like practical spirituality. It's like, that's my practice. I do certain things that are considered shamanic. I have training and I have clients that I work with and that sort of thing. And one of the things that appeals to me about this particular path is that my teachers are human beings, right? And I always say, like, even people that I teach, I'm a guide, not a guru. And I had a client recently talk to me, and she's like, yeah, my I'm a little worried about like getting sucked into something or falling into something. And I'm like, I get that. Me too. Like, that scares the heck out of me. I don't, I get if that's your path to follow a guru or whatever, that's totally fine. But that's something that I am not. And I don't place myself above anyone or anything like that, or above being human. I'm a human being. And as, a shamanic practitioner, I'm supposed to be standing in both worlds, right? I'm supposed to, there's somebody who has a shamanic podcast out there, and she talks about all these practices, and then she goes, at the end, she'll go, but does it grow corn? right? But does it grow corn? Because ultimately...
Is she from Indiana?
I don't know. She's from the U.S., but,
okay.
But I love that expression, does it grow corn? Like I can, do all of these, I can do all of these practices, these cool meditative practices and shamanic journeying and all of this stuff. But ultimately I have to come back here and grow corn. And it was the role of the shaman in their cultures, not just to heal, but frequently like, you got to know how to plant corn. You got to know how to do this and that. And so, I think that I have a body and a physical existence for a reason, and then I have to show up in the world, and then I have to have these experiences, and I don't feel like I'm above that. And I think what happens is that spiritual development can be very hubrisistic, meaning it can develop an inflated sense of ego sometimes, right? Yeah. And, it's something, it's a struggle. It is like, your development, you might realize you have certain abilities or certain skills or certain things, and it's really important not to place yourself above others in my practice, in my belief system anyway.
I think that's good in life, period.
Yeah, I think in general in life, but it's just something I recognize. I know what you mean. It's something I recognize, and so it's this sort of toxic positivity that, and I did a whole podcast on the shadow, right, and about how we, as a culture, there's this cultural thing where we're like, okay, I have these desires or I have these feelings and my culture tells me I'm not supposed to have them. So what do we do with them is that we stuff them down and we pretend they're not there and then we don't look at them, but they're still there. And if we don't address them, they're going to pop up in really weird ways or really destructive ways because they're, their urges or feelings or emotions or things that we have exiled. Right, that we don't look at, that we're not in self-examination of. And so when we talk about the shadow, a lot of times people are like, well, if I embrace my shadow, I'm going to become a serial killer or a rapist or whatever. And I think, no, that's not how it works. How it works is if you don't address these things, then those are the things that come out. If you don't address, oh man, this guy cut me off in traffic and I really had the desire to punch him in the head. Right? I would never do that. I would never punch somebody in the head. But if I don't recognize that anger is coming from somewhere, I can never work on it. If I go, oh, that's not me. I don't have those feelings. I am above that.
No, I know. I totally know what you're talking about. And I never really realized, well, of course, everything has a name, I suppose. But I'm generally a pretty positive person, as I think you probably figured out.
Yeah.
Happy most of the time just because I choose to be. But when I'm not in a good mood or something's really bugging me and I'm like, whoa, why am I? And I reflect and think and I'm like, oh, it's because of that. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. I don't need to be this upset about that. It's like usually something really trivial and is already past and who cares anymore. So like you said, I acknowledge it. I'm like, okay, that's why I'm upset, and then I move on.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on the key there. Like you honor and acknowledge that you have a feeling, and that it's fine. Like you're a human being who has this experience, and then you can be introspective about it and say, okay, this is not something I really, there's no, we talk about like the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that gets triggered when there's danger, right? And, human beings, we evolved where there were like saber-toothed tigers out to kill us in the grass, right? Our amygdalas haven't changed since those times. And so they get turned on at weird times, things that aren't actual existential threats to us. Our brain treats them that way. And it's why there are a lot of stress-related diseases, because our cortisol and our amygdala is turned on all the time at this sort of low level that our ancestors never evolved to experience, right? It was like fight or flight. Okay, the danger's over. I'm okay now. I can reset. But we, many of us punch a clock from 9 to 5 5 days a week in jobs that we don't really love. And so there's this sort of low-level threat going along. And I think one way to counter that amygdala cortisol experience is with gratitude and some positivity and some, may sound redundant, but positive positivity as opposed to like toxic positive, non-toxic positivity.
Let's make it a thing.
Yes, we should. We'll print the shirts and get the bumper stickers.
Perfect.
You heard it here first.
Stickers. I want stickers too, please.
Oh, stickers. Yeah, we can definitely do stickers and pins, little pins.
Yeah.
We'll do the whole thing. But yeah, I think positivity, and there's a practice. So, gratitude seems like a really big word sometimes, even though it's a short word. But gratitude, like feeling like, oh, what do I have to be grateful for? And maybe if you're listening to this, your life circumstances are not what you'd like them to be, and that's probably true for most people. Gosh, I mean, I guess I would have to play the lottery to win, but who wouldn't love to win who wouldn't like, I wouldn't. I
know. I love when they say, money can't buy you happiness. I'm like, well, I'm pretty happy right now, but I wouldn't mind a couple $1 million thrown my way.
I think that's, I mean, money can't necessarily buy you happiness, but it can sure, pay off a lot of misery.
Well, that's what I was thinking, I can pay that bill off, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
So I think, that can be challenging when we're living in situations that actually feel really, like we're mired in sometimes, feels really low and stuff. And so I always try to give people a little bit of like practical stuff. Like what can I do about that? And so a synonym for gratitude, I think, is appreciation, right? Even though it's a longer word, what can I appreciate? And I think you can start with really, and as I said that, my crow friend who... I
was going to say, the crow is back?
The crow is back. I call her Crookwing because she has a little wing. One of her wings is injured. Doesn't seem to affect her at all. She hangs down, and I think she's...
That's because she's strong.
She is strong, and I think she's in charge, but she literally just flew up in front of my window. So, and there's her friend. Cool. So there's a couple of crows, but Crookwing is right in front of me at this moment. And I feed them and talk to them when I go out, and they yell at me. I don't know what they're saying yet, but one of these days I'll work it out. But I love crows, and but yeah, literally,
they're very smart.
So, like, I like to leave people with something practical that they can do, based on what I'm talking about during the podcast. And so, one of the things when I find it hard to be in gratitude, when maybe life is getting me down a little bit, or there's some circumstances that are sort of hard to get over, I start with what are the smallest things that I can appreciate right now. And this actually, what it does is it trains my brain. Like, we're conditioned, we're wired, but we're also conditioned to look for negativity, to look for threats, to look for things that are bad. The tiger in the woods, so to speak, the saber-toothed tiger in the woods. So how do we start getting our brain to look for the positives, right? How do we start to get out of that a little bit? And so there's a little exercise that I have done with some degree of success, and I'll share it because maybe somebody else will find some value in that.
I'm sure they will.
And that is like really, really small. How do you start a habit? You start really small pieces of appreciation. What can I appreciate? Well, today I can appreciate something small like having the electricity and internet connection to have this conversation with you.
There you go.
And to record this. Like, that's really small. Gosh, do I appreciate the cup of coffee I have in front of me. Small things of appreciation. You do not have to go look for the big things to be grateful for, right? Because life's not always like that. Life's not always like, oh, hey, I did just win the lottery, or hey, I got the greatest job, or hey, I got, the love of my life showed up, dropped into my lap from the heavens. It doesn't. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it reminds me of something my mom, says a lot, is God bless my rut. Like, I'm always happy when, we've got heat in the house, the power's on, the kids are healthy, the sun's shining. Like, seriously, I the water's running out of my faucet. I can drink the water. And that's why I think some people think I'm a little cuckoo, because I do get excited and happy about those things. But, I don't know. Maybe that's why I am the way I am.
No, I completely agree. And the people that get cuckoo over the positivity part, they're particularly, we talked about this, like we live in the, I have listeners apparently from 27 countries right now, which is pretty cool.
So cool. Maybe 28 after today.
Maybe 28 after today. I'm really grateful for all of my listeners, particularly all over the world. There's people in India and Russia and Bangladesh and Japan and Canada and New Zealand. And, I apologize for not remembering every country that we have people listening from. It's people are, we grew up in this New England area of the U.S. And if you're not familiar, that's in the far northeast of the United States. And this area was settled by the Pilgrims, who were Puritans, and they were Calvinists. And that has affected our culture, the culture here, for hundreds and hundreds of years. And that philosophy was all about, to boil it down and make it seem really silly, was about you should be miserable to show God that you're worthy of going to heaven, right?
No, but that's pretty much, yep, that's it.
That's it. And suffering is holy, and pleasure is unholy, and all of these things.
I'm definitely not going to heaven based on that. I'm totally screwed.
Nor am I. And, if I had to hang out with a bunch of pilgrims in heaven, although they did drink a whole lot of beer, apparently, because the water was unpotable.
That's one thing.
So they made a whole lot of, it was like one of the first things, like, yeah, we're running out of beer. We better, make land. So they drank a whole lot of beer instead of water. So that has
there's bacteria in water. That's why you drink beer.
That's right. So that has pervaded the culture here, right? And so it's funny because, my relatives, I think about, my grandmother's a really positive person and a really good person. She's 104, almost 105, and she now lives in South Carolina, but she was born in Bath, Maine in 1916. And imagine growing up here, like I go outside, I'm like, man, it's cold here, and whatever. And likewise, I'm grateful for heat and electricity and running water. She was born without all of that.
Can you imagine?
Bath, Maine, and
my gosh.
and if you're listening to this and you don't know where that is, it's very cold in the winter. It's very cold, and they didn't have cars, they didn't have electricity. But
it's beautiful there. I wouldn't mind growing up in Bath.
Sure. They took one
right
bath
on the
a week.
Water.
One bath a week, and all the kids shared the same water, and it went.
Okay, well,
oldest,
maybe not that
oldest
part.
Youngest. If you were the youngest kid, you got the dirtiest bath water.
I'm the oldest, so
yeah, you would have got the clean bath water.
All right,
you would have been all set.
Phew.
And as I'm saying this, a little chickadee isn't. I realize I'm giving a play-by-play of the birds in my yard, but
no, I watch the birds too. I love the birds.
A pair of chickadees just flew into my yard, and chickadee is the state bird of Maine. And there's a joke because they're the only bird not smart enough to fly south in the winter. There are a number of birds that don't fly south in winter, but chickadees are very sweet, and they have a very sweet call. And
I was going to say they're adorable.
Little black-capped chickadees. They're beautiful little birds, and they have the sweetest little calls. And I just love them. I don't know if they're my favorite bird, but I do love chickadees. I don't know if I could pick a favorite.
I know. I was just thinking that when you said that. I mean, I love cardinals because they're red. And they're just beautiful. But and people like blue jays, but honestly, I find them highly obnoxious.
Blue jays can be very aggressive.
They're so loud.
They're
loud.
Just
like, oh my gosh. And they're beautiful to look at, but just don't open your mouth.
Right.
Or beak. A beak, I suppose.
There is a raven that lives around here somewhere, and I only know because I can hear it, and I have never seen it. But it lives close by, and you can, it's so throaty and gravelly. I'm like, that's definitely not a crow. But I haven't seen him or her yet.
That's cool.
Maybe one of these days he'll make an appearance. I don't know. But they're a little more solitary than crows, so it's probably not a whole lot of them out there. So I think it may be just one or two. But anyway, talk about tangents.
Okay, that's episode 4. I think we're at. Birds.
Yeah, we're doing birds and food and all kinds of stuff. And in the shamanic world, birds are frequently messengers. We look at them as, for me, crows are big omens. They show up. Usually if I'm saying something, it's like or doing something, it's like an acknowledgement, like, yeah, you should be doing this or talking about this, or they'll show up very frequently in certain numbers when I'm about to go do something. I remember going, during my apprenticeship in shamanism, every time I was going to go meet with my teacher, there would be 2 of them, like just hanging out on the side of the road on the way every single time. And I was like, okay, I got it. I understand.
That's cool.
I get it. So crows are very cool, and they're smart. They're smart as heck.
They are very smart. Yes.
Love crows. Some people don't like crows, but I don't get that.
Well, cool. They're picking around in garbage, so it's easy to,
Well,
sometimes.
they do. I mean, they will eat crops too, and they'll be really smart about it. So some people don't. I'm not a farmer. I live next door to a farm, but I'm not a farmer, so I don't have to worry so much about them eating my crops. But you can feed them. They like dog food, like kibble. You can feed them.
Oh,
kibble.
Really?
Yeah. Because
I was going to ask you what you fed them. Okay,
they're meat eaters. They eat. They'll eat carrion. They'll eat seed for sure, but they'll eat anything. They're kind of omnivores. I haven't gone out, like, you can feed them like hamburger and stuff, but I have a thing about putting out raw meat. So
yeah, that's probably not a good practice.
Yeah, there are bears around here. So
I was going to say, I know where you live, and that's not a threat. That's not a threat. I'm just saying.
No, I know where you live. I'm going to listen to this podcast if I don't sound great.
I know. I'm agreeing that I would not put out raw meat. That's probably not wise.
Raw meat. Yeah, we would get all kinds of wildlife here if I did. I mean, bears will go after bird feeders too, but not, only if they stumble upon them. They can't smell them from miles away. We're putting out raw meats, inviting. we have coyotes. We have all kinds of stuff here. It's cool. It's cool. I love that. I love that aspect of where I live, that there's so much wildlife here. And there's a wildlife park about a mile up the road from here that I'm sure you have visited.
I know the people that run it.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. They rescue all kinds of wildlife, and you can go see moose and bear and deer.
It's really cool.
All kinds of stuff. Porcupines.
Actually, it's funny that you say that, and so I'm going to take it as a sign, since you brought that up, to tell the story, or maybe you want to tell me to be quiet. But
no, tell the story.
They have ravens there.
Yes.
And so you're talking about how their intelligence and stuff, and my friend Joelle was telling me that, of course, they feed the animals on a schedule. I think the raven learned about the weekends or something like that. I'm trying to remember exactly. But anyway, the point of the story is that he would hide food just to save for later. Like, he wouldn't eat all of it. Yep. And they found that he was like just keeping it in another place so he would have more for later and stuff like that. I was just like, whoa.
Yeah. They're
pretty cool.
They're so smart. They've, I could go off on corvids and how flipping intelligent they are, and they've shown behaviors that are we only thought that primates were capable of. So there's a lot of research with birds. Parrots are another one that are just as smart, but corvids like crows and ravens, and crows actually do social learning, which is incredible if you think about that. So they actually, they'll gather to witness something, and they'll remember human faces. So if you cross a crow, man, I'm telling you, they will remember. They will remember you.
Noted.
But if you treat them well, they'll also remember you. So you can get into good relationship with crows and nature and stuff. Yeah. So we've been talking for like an hour. Can you believe
that? I feel like we could still do more time, but
we'll have to do some more. Yeah, we'll have to do some more. But I appreciate that we've gone off on lots of different tangents. Clearly, we have lots to talk about. But we just to bring it back about the practice of gratitude and positivity and spirituality, and maybe wrap it up in a little bow or something. I don't think. When you and I are, you identify as Catholic, I believe, and I identify as a shamanic practitioner and stuff like that. But, ultimately this, the practice, it doesn't matter, right? Because this practice of gratitude, of, of this positive positivity, what are we calling it? I don't know.
Yeah,
we have to think about it. So for the
we
pins.
we can work on it, but I know what you mean.
We'll work on the brand. But it's, this transcends that. This transcends any sort of differences that people might have, because this is just a human thing. Right. This is a thing that we even know, and this is an area that, and I always talk about, I like the intersection of sort of science and spirituality, right? Where we have research around this. We have research that shows this is effective, that this is a practice that works. It can be part of your, daily meditation, or just whatever, or part of your, and there are a lot of, spiritual systems or religions where gratitude is part of your prayer practice, right? So this can be a big part of it. And I would say that it's not thinking thoughts of gratitude are, is definitely a good thing. But expressions of gratitude, whether they're in a diary or to another human being, seem to be an important part of that. Like getting it out of you, getting the gratitude out of you and into the world, even if it's just a diary that nobody else reads. There's something about that. Maybe there's some great research that I can turn up on that. I'm sure I will talk about it at some point in the future. But we've been talking for an hour. I do need to wrap up. So I know I know you didn't come on here to like plug anything, but do you want to talk about your business or plug your website at all if people are interested?
Gosh. It's funny you say that. I am small on purpose, and I'm scared to even say that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Do you think I'm going to get orders from all over the place?
From Nepal? I don't know.
Do you do
international?
Because I've shipped to Hawaii and Alaska, but that's about as far. Yeah. So 3 Spicy Boys, the number 3. It's a barbecue sauce that, it grew from my love of cooking. And my mom said, Lazzy, you need to do something with this. And so it's her fault. That's what I say. That's my quick speech. I have 8 flavors, and I just love to cook, and I don't know.
Yeah. And I know, so you do a lot of, and I bought some from you to send down to my mom at Christmas time this year. And, I know you ship out and stuff, and then there's some local places here. If you ever travel to Maine and you go to,
they have it in stores. There's a couple in Scarborough and Portland and Poland, and Gray, I think, has it too. Maybe I don't know. Gray. I'll have to look around. And Auburn Lewiston and restaurants and stuff. So
cool. Oh yeah, and so you're in restaurants as well, right? So
the Chivo is the library cafe at the Auburn Public. So they have it on pizza there, and Gritty's has a mainly maple chicken sandwich, which nice. I think is their number 1 selling sandwich. Not to brag or anything, but
whoa, yeah. I mean,
it's delicious.
Actually, I got to say. So here's a little secret I'm going to tell you.
Okay,
that,
come get close.
I think I bought 3 jars of sauce from you for Christmas to send to my mom, and I think only 2 of them got sent to
John.
my mom, and one of them, the mainly maple, stayed here with me. So I'm going to have to try it on the chicken.
Did you like it?
Oh, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. But I haven't tried it on the chicken sandwich yet, but I'm going to go. I might have to go. I might have to go to Gritty's and give that a shot. But I understand why that's their best-selling sandwich. Sauce is king. I mean, that's exciting. I mean, I know. Okay, so I know you're into staying small, but I always want to give people a chance if they've got it.
I appreciate it. So it's okay because people are like, you need to go to Whole Foods or Hannaford's, and I'm like, what if they say yes?
Right, then you have to ramp up production.
Yeah,
I've known people who had like a small business, and then they got on QVC, right? And they could not keep up with, like, QVC was like, we need you to make up 100,000 of these things that they were selling, and they were like, No, we can't keep. He's like, okay, then we're done. Then we're done with you. So I get it. I get it a little bit. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. But that's not a. I'm sure you'd figure it out if you had to.
I would figure it out.
If you need me to,
well, I'm still trying to decide whether I want to go back to teaching this fall. So maybe I'll just make sauce the rest of my life.
Yeah. And if you ever need me to come over and stir the pot, I'm a good taste tester.
Sample it just in case.
I will sample. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Okay. This one's good. Yep. Yeah. Totally.
All right.
Awesome. Well, it has been fantastic talking to you. I am grateful for you taking time out of your, I'm sure, extremely busy day today and chatting with me. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope that you'll come on again. We'll chat about more stuff.
I would absolutely love to.
We can chat about
so much fun.
We can chat about love languages and the spiritual nature of food and how cooking for people can be a real
absolutely. I made dinner for a family. I mean, now that sounds like I'm bragging. I'm not bragging, but I'm just giving examples. So I made food for somebody last week and making some soup for somebody else tomorrow.
Wow. There you go. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to wrap up, and you'll hear my outro next.
I was going to say thank you, John. It's been so much fun. I really appreciate it. Put a big smile on my face for most of this hour.
Excellent.
You have been listening to Speaking Spirit with your host, John Moore. For more info or to contact John, go to mainshaman.com. That's maineshaman.com.